Welcome back to Discus Talk. I know that we did a live stream on cross-contamination and what it is and what we treat it with. But I want to go back through that and make it a shorter video. The original live stream was over 4 hours. So I want to cut that down and just go over what it is and the treatment for it. With all fish, cross-contamination can happen anytime that you have any type of pathogen that is passed from your new fish to your existing tank. That pathogen can be a parasite, or it can be a bacteria, or it can be a fungus. So what do we do? One big thing is with quarantine, and I'm going to do a separate video, not next week, but the week after, on quarantine procedures. But let's assume you have already added your new fish in with your existing fish. With discus, you tend to see within a few days to a couple of weeks, you start seeing a darkening of color, an excess of slime coat to the point that it looks like a fungus with the slime coat that's coming off. They tend to hide in the back. They'll be listless in the water. They're not going to be interested in food, and they will look like they're going to die. And if they're not treated, they will. The best treatment that we have found for cross-contamination is Riddick Plus, and the reason we use Riddick Plus is not because it's ick, because it's not. It's generally going to be bacterial with discus, and we don't know what bacteria it is, so we don't know which antibiotic to use. So we generally go with something like formalin, and Riddick Plus and ICX both have formalin in them. So we recommend doing that with a high dose of salt, and the salt can be about 5 tablespoons per 10 gallons. And we continue this treatment until they're looking better. These fish can be saved. A lot of people refer to it as discus plague, which is false. It is simply a bacterial infection of the slime coat. In order to treat it, you need something. You need to know what you're using for it. And formalin is a disinfectant, so it kills the bacteria at least enough for the discus immune system to kick in and start working on its own. Usually it is the existing fish that get sick. Sometimes it's both fish that get sick. You have pathogens in your aquarium that the fish you're bringing in may never have been exposed to. So your new fish may be the ones to get sick and your old fish may be fine. Or it could be that your old fish, your new fish bring in something that your old fish haven't been exposed to, and they get sick. And the reason this happens is because as they're growing, these discus are exposed to these bacteria in their environment, and their immune system is built up to handle that. But if you bring in a new bacteria that these fish have never been exposed to, the immune system may not recognize it until it's too late, and the fish are already sick. So it's best to keep them separate in your tanks for a little while. And there's treatment involved in that. But if you bring them in and these fish get sick, you want to treat them. Now, a lot of people are talking about Discus X bacticide. And I haven't used it. I don't know what's in it. But they're saying it works really, really well for cross-contamination. I prefer to use the Riddick Plus or the ICX with the formalin. And the salt should be about 5 tablespoons per 10 gallon. And that usually takes about a week. Some of them get better sooner than others. Don't separate them. Just leave them together and let them all get through their immune system boosting up and fighting off these bacteria so that they can build up their own immunity to it. Once they built up an immunity, they're better able to fight it off. And you shouldn't have an issue in the future. But anytime that you're bringing in new fish, and it doesn't have to be discus. We hear about the German discus and the Asian discus can't be mixed together. That's false. It is any fish with a discus, period. Any fish. It could be your ditterfish, your tetras, your plecos, Even some plants can bring in other bacteria from other tanks that can make your discus sick. When you're in the groups and you're seeing these sick fish and somebody says, have you added anything to your tank? They're talking about plants, media from another tank, or fish, or anything. Have you added anything to your tank in the last 2 weeks? 2 weeks is generally going to be your guideline. If you get past that 2 weeks, you're generally fine. Discus are not cheap. I don't recommend taking the chance on it, but this, I hope, will help you if you do get cross-contamination. And cross-contamination can happen in a room. Say I have discus in this tank. Well, one of these tanks may be a quarantine, and they can actually cross-contaminate via the air. Water droplets can from where your evaporating waters go up in, can actually carry bacteria from this tank to this tank. So you can get it in the same room. So it's best to be prepared. We do use quarantine tanks in the same room with our existing fish. So we do have stuff on hand. We keep medications in bulk, actually, on hand in case we get cross-contamination, because we run a lot of tanks. But this is just kind of a recap, if you will, of our cross-contamination live stream. We did that probably a year and a half ago, and it is so long that nobody wants to watch it. I mean, who wants to watch a long video when a short one will do? But that is all I have for this segment. Next week, we are doing a live stream, and I have special guests coming on, and I am looking forward to it. That's going to be on Sunday. The times will be posted on Facebook. So check over there on our page, and we will see you guys then. Bye, y'all.